Hello viewers and welcome to a special challenge video. I've seen a lot of challenges lately where people have been loot locked or gold locked or fish locked, so I want to do up a challenge for me where I'm time locked. That is, I have 12 hours to get to level 90 in midnight. Whether I get there, well, that's part of the fun, I guess. And as Illidan says, "You are not prepared!" Yeah, I came into this with no preparation, other than my snacks and the idea of pizza for dinner. Pizza.
I have to do this for work.
To the rules. Number 1, I stream this live. This challenge was live streamed to my viewers on Twitch to keep me honest. Secondly, existing characters can help, but only with looms and gold. No warband XP benefits. And thirdly, everything gets done within the 12 hours. I kicked things off by choosing to level a Pandaren monk. My main idea being that I'll go Brewmaster at level 10 and smash my way through some leveling dungeons. Great idea, right? And on that note, it's go time. Introducing Cheesy Bread, my Pandaren monk, and my consistent companion for the next 12 hours. I realised pretty early on that I'd kind of put myself into a bit of a dilemma position by going Pandaren. My options were to start in the Turtle area or start in Exile's Reach. I figured Exile's Reach would be the better option, given the rather straightforward story beat, and the fact I get set up with some gear for when I reach level 10 and start doing PvP in dungeons. That's right, I chose a base race because I wanted to start at level 1. Even if I'm not going to do PvP at level 10, the level 10 boost would have been great, but that's not the point of this video. My lack of preparation stung me pretty early on though, as I forgot to put my donation rewards up on my Twitch stream, and of course, that took a few minutes out of my runtime. Ouch. However, I did learn that the chauffeured Mechanohog is usable from level 1. It's not a huge speed boost, but it helps, especially when every minute counts in this challenge. I made another mistake though, by jumping into the spider pit without getting quests, but was still rather resilient and also tried to pick up chests where I could. I mean, my guild's name is Shiny. Gotta live up to that. I had hoped to get out dodge within the hour, however the little mistakes added up, and we enter hour 2 at level 8. So just over an hour in, and we're still persisting with Exile's Reach, although I'd rather be out of there. While I had a full set of looms already for gear, or so I thought, I was still not exactly powering through enemies like a steam train like I expected to be. That said, I plowed through the Ogre storyline, notching my first death of the campaign, and then jumped balls deep into the Dark Maul Citadel, whose loading screen looks uncannily similar to Shadowfang Keep. We'd make our way to the boss of this mini dungeon, however, old mate in here with me decided he was going to take on Caligos himself, leaving me to chill at the door. Luckily I still got the quest tag, and that meant we'd finally be on our way out of Exile's Reach. The old blue dragon transports me to Dragonflight, and now I'd been using the rest of the XP guide thus far to try and expedite my early levels. This told me to go somewhere where an NPC just didn't exist. Problem? Maybe not. This didn't faze me, as I suddenly realised some great news. I could just queue for dungeons. And not just any dungeons, Timewalking dungeons, which are always great for leveling up in. I quickly was dropped into my first Timewalking dungeon of the evening, Mogashan Palace, and soon yet another silly mistake I made. You see, for the last 2 hours I've been running around with a level 1 staff, thinking that I created the heirloom staff. I obviously hadn't, and was subsequently mocked by the healer. I deserve that. I have to make it up to him with my level 11 brewmastering ability, right? So with my apologies accepted, and my reputation somewhat restored after downing the first 2 bosses, thought I'd lighten the mood with a joke. Sadly it wasn't as well received as I had hoped, with the DPS priest not amused. We downed the final boss and a sizable chunk of XP, however 23 minutes for 2 levels wasn't going to cut it at this rate. I needed better groups with better DPS. Thankfully I got that in the form of the next group, which powered through the Shadowpan Monastery in just over 10 minutes. Fabulous. Back on track. Follow this up with an average Scholarmance run, and we could possibly be looking at level 20 by the end of this hour, as long as we get a decent short dungeon like Temple of Jade Serpent, but we cop another Mogashan Palace. And despite us clocking that one in around 16 minutes, we fall just shy at level 19 for this hour. I'd hoped to be around level 30 by the end of this hour, so the fact we're behind is disappointing, but not nearly as much as my disappointment when I made arguably the biggest mistake so far, and I didn't even realise until it was too late. Oh no! Oh no! I have just fucked myself. Could have been any other dungeon in Dragonflight and it wouldn't have hurt me as much, but it had to be my old nemesis, Brackenhide Hollow. And you can see in my face and hear in my voice how much I hate this place. Compound this with a rogue who didn't fight in the first fight because he was changing his talents, the group dictating we go the long way to the second boss, needless deaths, and people who didn't know how to interrupt. It was a costly 26 minutes, and it was time that I just didn't have to sacrifice. All for one measly level. So costly. Halfway through this hour, and we've severely hampered ourselves here. We rebounded with a quick Storm Stout Brewery and a 10-minute Scholomance run. But alas, the damage was done. And what could have been a productive hour yielded us just 5 levels to our target, and put us a whopping 15 levels behind the 8 ball. Pain. Hour 5 would only serve to reinforce what I already knew about this challenge, that dungeon spam would only be as good as the group you get. Starting off strongly on Gate of the Setting Sun, I thought we'd be a chance to time this one within 10 minutes, but costly errors on Trash leading up to Striker Gadok, deaths on Gadok, and Commander Remok, and a long-lasting kill on Raygon left me hurting. 17 minutes and we were finally on the move, but definitely not worth it for just one level. We rebounded with a Temple of the Jade Serpent, and with more War Mode and dungeon quests we had a little bit of extra spring in our step. Now for those playing the home game, there's a bug in Timewalking, where you only need to kill Wise Mari, the Priestess, and the Shah to clock this in around 5 to 6 minutes if you're bouncy. So we clocked that. And again, Mogoshan Palace. No worries, right? We've got this, right? Nah. The Death Knight in the group decides to yeet himself on top of Gekken. My sorry ass goes head first after him. We wipe, but old Gex is now bugged. He meets us at the top, pulling 2 oracles with him that are healing everything in the trash pack. These players don't realise and keep attacking until finally they get the message and start targeting the oracles. We race to Jin, but we've spent nearly 27 minutes in this hell by now. I raced to Scholomance in the hopes of getting to level 30 before the hour was out. Sadly, we'd again only collect 5 levels this hour, but we were definitely on the bounce in this one. On the bounce to an elongated fight before the final boss, and we suffer another Scholomance run just shy of 15 minutes. My run of terrible dungeon groups continued, as I was joined by a group that couldn't even down the first trash pack quickly enough, struggled on trash, and barely finished Shadowpan Monastery in 21 minutes. And to make matters worse, I experienced my first encounter with a bug that robbed me of at least 2 levels here. Because I was doing a quest and died on the final boss, for some reason it didn't click that I'd finished a dungeon, and as such I didn't receive any bonus XP. I checked and saw that 30 minutes into this hour, I was at 31, not the 33 that I'd expected to be at the end of this one. I needed a palate cleanse, and went and did some leveling in Strangleform for a while. And whilst murdering the wildlife there, very therapeutic I might add, I realised that we were approaching the halfway mark 27 levels away from where I wanted to be. It was not looking like we were going to reach Xalatath and her feet within the requisite time, but we still had just over 6 hours to go in this challenge. I wasn't going to give up, so we changed tack. Why not try and at least make it to midnight content? 80 in 12 hours is still a decent effort, right? We would need 47 levels in 6 hours. We can do this. What better way to start the 7th hour of the challenge than with pizza to fuel me for the rest of the fight? Yeah. I wish I could have said more about Stranglethorn, as I thought the many cool quests there would actually benefit me. I had hoped that switching to questing would have been as much of a benefit as it was a palate cleanser, however, no one to blame here but me. It was worth a try, but we are down, not out. Simple mathematics, you just don't quest quick enough to pick up the bonus XP that you get from the end of each dungeon. A little more questing to round the hour out, but I could tell a switch back to Timewalking was on. Just like a comeback. That is, the comeback is on. Now in fairness, I did some more questing nearby before queuing for a dungeon, but unfortunately I was not impressed with the group I got in my Storm Stout brewery. There was a lack of DPS, and well, there's always one player who doesn't LOS on the final boss, and well, this time it was a warlock. They also didn't know how to do the final boss, so we finished up doing that in about 16 minutes. However, this was followed up by a reasonably timed Gate of the Setting Sun, which we timed in around 15 minutes, and we then got lucky getting a Temple of the Jade Serpent just before the hour was out. But the difference was clear cut, with bonus XP looming at the start of the next hour. We'd already enjoyed a 6 level buffer, a first hour by hour increase in levels gained since the 3rd hour, so we must be on the right track. Unfortunately, I had once again jinxed myself, as the group was making record time only to run headlong into a trash pack. Ah, the perils of time-walking dungeons. Enough to give you bloody whiplash. A couple of cheeky hand-ins and a reasonably timed Scholarman's run meant we were on the edge of a relative mecca in 50. And seeing as we're talking about holiness and miracles, you might have thought that we would do another one, right? Rule of threes, right? Nah, Mogashan Palace. 21 minutes. Cheesy bread eating it again. That said, 50 is an important milestone. I attempted this challenge in Dragonflight when the level cap was 70 and I only got to 50. So this is a milestone. I'm claiming it, it's mine. It also meant one other thing. I hadn't done my due diligence. The same staff that caused me troubles was once again the bane of my existence. It was only scaled to level 49. I had to borrow some funds from some other characters and spent the remainder of the hour travelling to Undercity to purchase the scabbards. Now into the final quarter of this challenge, I began by applying those scabbards and realising that, oh shit, I won't be able to do any questing as I'm nowhere near any event at the moment. That's all good. This was recovered by a reasonably timed Shadowpan dungeon. We popped another Storm Stout brewery, and then I was blessed by an almost flawless run. This time, a personal best just shy of 11 minutes. What is this sorcery? Almost as if there was someone watching down on my Twitch from heaven, we got a Temple of Jade Serpent in straight succession, and we downed the boss in 7.5 minutes. The comeback was really on now. Looks like someone was finally clicked into the rule of threes at Blizzard. Surprisingly, this was also followed by a personal best sub 10 minute Scholarman's run that saw us crack 60. And of course, we got a Mogashan Palace to round out the hour, but no one could prepare me for the drama of the last 2 hours that I would endure in this challenge. The beginning of the penultimate hour was quite good, as we set a record time for Mogashan Palace. Shortly after that, we had managed to snare a 10-minute clear on Raygon in Gate of the Setting Sun. What are the odds of that? I knew that I had to put myself in the best possible position if we were going to reach the supplemental goal of reaching level 80 and midnight content. Even after locking out the warrior and the first boss of Storm Stout Brewery, we cleared that in a reasonable time. With about half an hour to go, had already notched up 6 levels. Another Temple of the Jade Serpent clear, and the dream was well and truly alive. Could this be the redemption story we've craved in the back end of this video? 68 with some change as we headed into a Mogashan Palace with enough time. If we were good enough to reach level 70, maybe with some change. Stressful. However, I would encounter one of those constants of time-walking dungeons, the occasional Spanish-speaking group. Sometimes they're not even half bad, but nearly always the situational awareness and communication is nothing but, well, ass. In this instance, Mr. Zilla the Pally was a powerhouse on the DPS boards, but his communication was, well, lacking. Despite us killing it time-wise as we took on Jin the Weapon Master, I communicated the same way I always start the final boss, by announcing that I'm pulling to the back door to minimize damage. Instead, Mr. Zilla bursts DPS off an ad while I'm heading to the door, which means that the healer is now trying to heal both me and the Pally. Now normally this is no problem, and when I die, We have a Pally in the group, right? They could easily res me, right? Well, both me and the other monk begged the Pally to be-res me, but he keeps on going about his business and the boss fight ends. Again, no stress, but wait, guess what? Mogushan Palace is one of those fights where if you die on the last boss, 0 bonus XP. RIP. Robbed of another 2 likely levels. A miracle had gotten us right back in the hunt, but we'd still need another one to have any chance of hitting 80 in this video. So, the final hour. The math is simple. 12 levels, 60 minutes. Well, in theory, probably more like 11 and some change, given how close we are to level 69. And we were off to a promising start on Gate of the Setting Sun, which gave me some hope, at least until the Warrior and Locke both got themselves locked out on the first boss. And of course, where were they from? The Spanish server Azralon. Another Spanish-speaking server. Great. We finished in 15 minutes after wiping on the third boss, but I'm not calling it yet. And what luck I didn't! We followed up that horror run with a sub 9 minute run of Stormstout Brewery, a 6 and a bit minute run of Temple of the Jade Serpent, and an 8 minute super run of the Gate of the Setting Sun. We're back! We pop off an 11 minute run of Scholarmance, and it sets the tide and the scene for our final run. Our last chance of getting 80 within 12 hours. All we need was a Temple of Jade Serpent, a Stormstout Brewery. Hell, I will take a Gate of the Setting Sun even if we can smash through it in sub 10 minutes. But what do we get? You guessed it. Mogushan Palace. I think my words on stream sum it up perfectly. That would be fitting, wouldn't it? The dungeon that I don't want. I valiantly fought on, but it was a losing battle. And sadly, the timer clocked over 12 hours. Level 79. What an end to 12 hours of gaming. What might have been? Imagine if I'd got the extra 4 levels from those lost bonus XP on boss fights, or maybe if I didn't queue myself for Brackenhide Hollow, or, you know, lost time in situations where if I'd been more prepared, I might have been in a better position. We'd almost definitely would have reached midnight content. And there are definitely some lessons to learn. Be prepared. I wasn't prepared coming into this, so really didn't have much strategy. I'm sure there are ways to do this and be much more successful than I was. Not having my looms leveled up appropriately, or having done stuff for my stream cost me minutes that I did not get back, and probably costed me around 30 minutes all up in game time. No amount of money from donations is going to make up for that. Don't go Pandaren. It locked me into a choice between 2 starting zones that were relatively unfamiliar to me. If I didn't know the best routes, I was never going to get anywhere, and I was dependent on the rested XP guide pretty early on. Group content can vary. Obviously, I had some great groups, but early on I had some absolute dog water rubbish groups that put me on the back foot pretty early on. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Pay attention. Stupid mistakes like me not checking after someone had reset the dungeon finder meant I queued for random dragonfly dungeons, and subsequently got the worst of the lot in Brackenhide Hollow. Again, this was a terrible XP per hour for me, and knocked me further from that purge. Finally, at the end, I could have probably ensured that we got Temple of the Jade Serpent by queuing for that solely. We might not have got the bonus XP, but we might have gotten enough XP from 2 straight runs to get the result. All in all, is this challenge doable? I think so. And I'll probably give this another go later on. But properly planned out and with a game plan in place. Not just let's spam dungeons and if all else fails, quest. I'm not the greatest WoW player of all time, but without preparation, I nearly got into midnight content. People have said that you can get through midnight in approximately 4 hours, so if I got myself to 80 within 6 hours, then maybe this challenge would be doable by me. Regardless, thank you for coming along on this journey with me. Would you like to see me try this again? If you do, smash the like button. Let's say 50 likes and I'll attempt this again in the near future. Till then, I'll see you in the next one.